A lot of people have asked me for my story. I was not ready to share it or explain it before. How could I explain something that I myself did not fully understand or come to terms with yet? Ataxia presents differently in different people. This is my story. When I was first diagnosed with ACA-10 in the year 2013, I was in shock and disbelief. Being raised by a single parent with ataxia and having other family members with it, I was somewhat familiar with it. When the doctor called me with the diagnosis, I cried. And then I decided to disregard it and go about life and bury it in the back of my head. Over the next 3 years, I started to notice it was slowly becoming more difficult to do physical things, especially walking, so I was going out less. I ended up buying a fold-up cane, which I would take out with me sometimes. I would use it to help me get wherever I was going. I would quickly fold it up, stuff it away in my purse. I was so embarrassed to use any kind of aid to help me get around. Around the year 2016, some people started asking me why I walked the way I do, and some so-called friends even made jokes or making fun of me. I used to model, and in the year 2016, I remember not being able to walk to the set. Most photo shoots require high heel shoes, so all I can think was, how am I gonna do that? I can't. And it was at this point I thought it was all over. Everything I had been working, building up. I had to go back to a desk job, which I did, at an office at first, and then as the years passed, I took jobs where I could work out of my home office, because working at home, I was able to preserve energy. I ended up earning less. Most people in my life were still completely unaware. I felt like I did not want to bother them with my problems. In the beginning of fall 2019, I accepted a position working from my home. That position was mainly on the computer and phone all day long. At the end of the first day back to work after the New Year's holiday, I had just finished the workday, logged out. I got a dreadfully odd feeling. It felt like I was in danger. I started to go up the stairs where my husband was. I didn't make it all the way up the stairs. I remember waking up to paramedics calling my name, people around me, and I was on the ground. I vaguely remember being loaded into the ambulance, being taken to the ER. I was going in and out of consciousness. I was not really awake during the majority of the time, but they did manage to stabilize me. They released me and told me to go back to my neurologist. My husband drove me home. I remember being super tired. Brushed him away and let him know I had to sleep. I slept alone downstairs. My husband found me in the morning on the ground. Apparently, I had more seizures over the rest of the night. My husband took me back to the hospital. Once I was stabilized, finally the hospital did give me seizure-controlled medication when they released me. I know quite a bit of people with ataxia, and the majority of them do not have seizures. It was at this point I realized I waited too long and I needed to learn more about ataxia. After that, I went on short-term disability leave from work for about 6 months. I also signed up on the NAF mailing list and also on the CORD registry to learn more about what clinical trials were going on. I remember being nervous going to my first clinical trial appointment. I also remember having a huge feeling of comfort, finally being somewhere I did not have to explain myself. I continued to sign up for more trials. This gave me a huge sense of relief. I felt like I was doing something about my ataxia and contributing to the potential discovery of new treatments and hopefully soon a cure. Participating in the trials gave me access to some of the best doctors who specialize in ataxia. With every visit, I continued to learn more and more about ataxia and, most importantly, how to manage it. Learning how to manage it made it a lot less scary and much more comfortable. 6 months later, my short-term disability was over. I had to return to work. I still wanted to work. At the same time, I realized I could not realistically do it full-time anymore. I had a discussion with my doctor, got the papers for me to return to work part-time only. Towards the end of my shift each day, after speaking 4 hours straight, I could barely maintain my speech. Customers would often ask me to repeat myself. At the end of every call, I also had to type out and log a full report. I started to notice that typing also took longer than it used to. About 9 months later, management let me know that my metrics did not meet the requirement. I pointed out the fact that my doctor had sent in the form informing them I have a disability, yet there was simply no understanding. I ended up leaving the phone call frustrated and in tears. All of my anxiety came back like a tidal wave. I could not sleep well, therefore I was falling a lot, constantly getting hurt. I was in a very dark place. All I wanted to do was disappear. I continued to participate in clinical trials and see my neurologist on a regular basis. When the short-term disability was coming to an end, I had another discussion with my neurologist. We agreed that it would be best to not return to work. I filed for long-term disability with my employer, and I also obtained a lawyer who specializes in disability benefits. I reluctantly applied for disability income. I was still not quite sure what to do with myself. Some friends of mine and my husband suggested I get back involved with modeling, to which I replied, yeah, right. They also said, well, you never know unless you try. And I thought for a second, I said, okay, well, I can't really argue that logic. So I went ahead and created some accounts online. To my surprise, some people actually responded. Thank you for following along. And yes, it was definitely a bit difficult in the beginning. However, with the actions I took, eventually got me to a better place mentally. And I learned that I was a lot stronger than I thought I was. So for any of you who may feel frustrated or in the dark, you're definitely a lot stronger than you think you may be. The main thing I want to do is to pass down some of the information I learned on how to manage ataxia to people who are newly diagnosed. So I really appreciate your attention and your time today. Thank you so much. Bye.